Welcome to the Stronger, Fitter, Happier podcast. I'm your host Vin, and today we're back with another episode. This time, it's all about how to basically overcome your insecurities. So, Sadie's brought a very interesting topic to the podcast this week. You're going to have to listen to find out what I'm on about. So I hope you enjoy it. So we've been talking off camera anyway for a while about lots of different things and what this podcast is going to be about and stuff like that. But Sadie, we weren't sure if you were going to make it today or not.
Well, we might as well just address the elephant in the room. So basically, for those of you listening this morning, I messaged Vinay and I said, I can't exactly remember what I said to you, Vinay, but I said, I'm not sure if I want to come on. Actually, I didn't even say that. I said I would rather reschedule the podcast due to... People are going to think I'm so silly.
No,
but basically, a big spot on my face. And now, to a lot of people, this might sound really silly. And basically, it's just my insecurity with it. So I said to Vinay, I'd rather reschedule the podcast and do it a different day. And Vinay replied with quite a long message. And once I read it, I thought, actually, you know what am I doing? Like, I think I said to you, what the hell? Let's just do the podcast. It's fine. Like, and I actually said there's worse things in the world that could happen. So I made it on the podcast.
Am I actually allowed to say what I wrote?
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you have your phone there, if you could read out the message.
Yeah. So, all right. So, to be fair, this is not me forcing Sadie into doing something, by the way. Just so anyone knows this. So when she sent what she sent, and then I said, we can just keep your camera off or change the angle a little bit to hide it if that makes you feel more comfortable. And just so that I'm clear, that wasn't going to be my initial response. I had to think about how I could, because I have a bit of an issue with how I deliver things. I'm a bit blunt in how I speak, and it comes across differently. So it's something that I'm trying to work on in terms of how I speak to other people, because not everyone responds with how things are taken. So I kind of thought about what I was going to say and how I was going to say it to be kind and put myself in Sadie's shoes and things like that. So the second thing I said was, the only reason I'm saying it is to still join it is because you're a role model to lots of women, including my daughters. So I think it's important you still turn up and lead by example, that you don't care about what others think and are committed to supporting your team. And also is a great way to show others how to overcome insecurities. But I understand also from your point of view of how something like this can make you feel. Sadie then basically kind of talked herself into doing it. So she went, she said stuff like, it probably sounds really silly, and to you guys, it's probably not a big deal, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, what the hell? I just do it. She kind of almost talked herself up into doing it.
Yeah.
To which I replied, no, it doesn't sound silly. I understand from your perspective. I really do. I just think on the flip side, it's also an opportunity to set standards and to be a good role model. Because in a world where everyone is not obsessed with how they look, because that's not true. I think it is in a world where we're forced to be conscious of how we look. It's just a normal thing. So what I also said to Sadie, to not be a hypocrite, is you could say the same thing to me about posting a topless photo of myself right now to be a role model to other people. Yeah. And to say, this is where you're at right now in terms of people may assume that I'm in, because I'm a personal trainer, I'm in good shape. And to put a caveat to that, I would consider that I'm in decent shape. It's just not probably what people consider as to be a fitness shape.
Or what the pedestal
ripped
for being in
kind
shape
of thing. Or what a personal trainer should look like to be in shape. And that's in my own head as well. So I said I probably wouldn't feel comfortable sharing a photo like that. So it's kind of the same thing. It's just a different thing that you're insecure about. It's still to do with looks, isn't it?
Exactly.
And Sadie kind of just said, oh, it's just a massive spot. I'll just do it. And I said, it's your call, whatever you feel comfortable with.
Yeah. And do you know what? I think because I think I said to you as well, I know our podcasts are over social media, and nowadays with social media, there's so much of comparison. It's so easy to compare yourself and have these insecurities. But actually, once you sent me that message, it kind of gave me a little bit of a kick up the bum for actually, do you know what? Like, I do need to be there for my team. I am a role model for a lot of people out there as well. And actually, what the hell? Like, do you know what I mean? You just got to do it sometimes.
Yeah. And to be fair, if you hadn't even mentioned it, most people wouldn't even like have even thought anything of it. Like, I don't know. Like you just wouldn't even say anything. Like you wouldn't even notice it. But I get it. It's something you feel something about. Do you get what I mean? But that's also a really good thing to remember for most people listening to this, is that most people don't care about your insecurities in terms of like,
as much as you do.
Yeah. Like, how many times I've used this so many times to new people who have like started to go to a gym. So, people who, you know, want to start getting into shape, they're often scared of what other people at the gym will think of them. And what I always tell them is, don't worry. No one is looking at you. No one cares about you, and you're not that important. And I mean that in that context. Because Jamie Alderton said something similar on one of his lives, and he got a lot of backlash about like, that's really mean thing to say, that no one cares about you, and that's like, you know, like a really bad message for someone who's going through like mental health illnesses or something, like to say basically that no one cares, because people do care about stuff like that. What I'm talking about is no one cares about your insecurities. Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify about that it's not like something that what I'm trying to say. And I don't, that's not what he was trying to say either. What he was trying to say was similar to what I'm saying, is that no one cares in the sense that as much as you do about your insecurity or the thing that you're self-conscious about, they're all too busy worrying about their own insecurities. Yeah,
that's true.
Like, so in a gym specifically, most of the people there don't feel quite comfortable with the way they look. I mean, some people will be more comfortable, some people will be less comfortable. But there's something that they're working towards in terms of self-improvement. And I don't even mean it in a negative way. Yeah. We all go to the gym for self-improvement, and there's nothing wrong with that. Before people start saying like, oh, you know, you shouldn't, like, you should accept things and stuff like that. You should accept, like, you know, lots of things about yourself, but there's nothing wrong with trying to improve yourself either. Like trying to get stronger, trying to get fitter, trying to get leaner, trying to get healthier, whatever it is. Lots of caveats in this. And
it's another podcast episode. I feel like there's a very fine line between it, isn't there?
Yeah. But yeah, so the point, I've rambled so much that I've kind of forgot the point of what I was trying to say, but is that lots of people have worries and things that you are making into a bigger thing in your own head.
We always do it though, don't we? We always make it into a bigger thing in our head, but to everyone else, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's the constant like overthinking, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, do you know what? Because actually, talking about overthinking, I was going to message you that last night. So I was thinking about, let me text Vinay tonight about the podcast tomorrow. And then I thought, actually, no, it's fine. Woke up in the morning. I thought, no, it's fine. And then I decided again, actually, no, let me tell Vinay I don't want to do the podcast. So I'd been thinking about it since yesterday, if I should message you or not. And then in the end, again, you just did it, really.
Yeah. The thing is that the things that I'm not talking about podcast episode now, but like sometimes some of the things that you sit on for the longest and the things that you're scared of doing and overthinking about are probably often the things that you need to do the most.
Yeah.
Like our friend on next to us here, Nikhil, you'll be able to talk about that one quite a lot. Like you're a big overthinker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or from your own words to me.
Yeah, I overthink everything. I think it's just natural. But I've gotten a lot better at it now. And I have more of are we allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
Not the sort of like fuck it completely mentality, but you know, just like, man, what's the worst that could happen? And if the worst scenario does come, there's always sort of a solution for it.
Yeah.
And if there's not a solution there readily for it, you'll figure it out. So yeah, I'm trying to sort of sway more towards that. But yeah, I'm very much an overthinker, and it is a big thing for me, as we were just discussing before. Like, luckily I forgot about a certain thing that was happening, otherwise I'd have been straight on it just to sort of get at people and figure out what was happening with it. So yeah.
What do you mean?
No, when we were talking about the sessions before, and I was like, oh, I forgot about it when.
Oh, I'm talking about more about overthinking in general, in terms of like how long it took you to like take the jump, in terms of like fully going for committing to what you wanted to in terms of your career. Like look how much me and you deliberated on starting Beyond a diet. And that wasn't just you, that was both of us. There's lots of things that like happened, like even with one of our like most successful things that we've ever started, the fat loss camp, was something that I think I thought about for 9 months before I actually started.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
I got the idea in the summer before I actually started it. So I started in like April, I think it was 2013, if I remember, or 2014. But the year before is when I was thinking about it.
Thinking about doing it, yeah.
So
but sometimes don't you think as well, you wish you had, like, if you hadn't have had all that overthinking, you wish you had done it, say, 9 months ago. If you hadn't have had that process.
Imagine where I'd be now if I was like started it 9 months ago.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm very good at also not thinking about stuff like that. So I don't.
The what ifs and the.
Yeah, I'm very good at not deliberating, because I have this mentality that everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. Because
in that sort of time scale, it's happening in that time scale for a reason.
Yeah, and also you can always learn from mistakes. So like, there's things that you do, and in hindsight, you probably wouldn't do them again. Yeah. So like, simply because you either basically you realize you're never going to make that mistake again, or you made a huge mistake and you just kind of like, again, don't make that mistake again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So next time you might take action sooner, or next time you may learn from a huge blunder if you took action too fast. So either way, you're gonna come out from on a positive perspective, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of see it, like with looking at past, and also everything that you did and everything that happened in your life, like kind of shaped and brought you to where you are now. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you had taken the jump from pharmacy into personal training sooner, then maybe other things would have been thrown in the... Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Other things could have happened that changed your life at the moment, that could have put you in a different position right now. And like dwelling and like thinking about the past and thinking, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. You don't know what the butterfly effect of your action could have been. So like, for example, this morning, my daughter woke up a little later. She was up for a little bit in the night and then woke up a bit later, and I felt bad waking her up on time, which meant we left the house a little bit later. So we got stuck in traffic. If I hadn't got stuck in traffic, maybe I would have hit a car. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah. So like, luckily we weren't late for her nursery, but if we were late, I could have been I dropped my daughter to nursery late, like so annoying, like, and like beat myself up and gone about the day like in a really negative way. Or I could have thought, like, you just don't know what would have happened if I was trying to be on time. Like, it happened for a reason, and that's that. Yeah. And just be at peace with it. And it's a good way to kind of not feel stressed out all the time. Nikhil, this wasn't actually going to be the podcast episode. Obviously, what happened this morning was something that led the conversation into like overthinking and also not worrying about what other people think. But something you said you were talking about, Nikhil, you said you wanted to bring up on the podcast about a book that you're reading. Yeah, that sounded really interesting.
So I'm reading a book called The Alter Ego Effect, and essentially it's written by this guy. I can't remember the name of it right now. I should have really looked it all up so I could recommend it. But it's called The Alter Ego Effect, and it's by some guy who's a coach to various different sports personalities, famous people, singers, musicians, actors, actresses, you name it. Although in the book, it could all be a lie, but in the book, he doesn't say their names for the purpose of keeping them anonymous, because he prides himself in that. But anyway, he goes on to say how he works with these people and he helps them shift their identity or put on almost somewhat of a persona so they can perform at their highest level. So I gave an example to you guys earlier, but there's another example in the book which he uses, which is really good, and it's using Beyonce. So Beyonce is like this small town girl who grew up in a church family and things like that, very reserved and things like that, singing in a gospel choir and things like that. But Beyonce, the persona, is this person who's on stage. She's quite provocative, right? Her lyrics are quite provocative, and that's not what you would expect from like a church-going girl, right? So he's talked about how he helped her, or how she even says that as soon as she steps on stage to be Beyonce, she's almost like, as soon as the costume comes on or her props come on, she's almost like shifted in personality. She's no longer Beyonce, this gospel girl. She's Beyonce, the like powerful, fierce, whatever performer. So yeah, it's about shifting your identity.
She calls herself Sasha Fierce, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I've heard this story before from like an interview or something like that.
Yeah, it may have been an interview with this one person, or so just about that, and how you could potentially transfer it into different aspects of your life, relationships, your job, for example. If you're working in a certain scenario, and you use another example of a female who works in the corporate world, but she's surrounded by overpowering men in terms of she can never get a word in. So when she steps into that meeting room, she almost puts on a persona again, and she's no longer this quiet, timid person that she is at home. She's this fierce, outspoken, gets her word in type of person. So yeah, about sort of shifting your identity, putting on this alter ego to almost better yourself in a way.
I think it's a good thing to get an outcome. And obviously I haven't read the book, and I haven't read like the caveats of it, and like what, like there may be flaws to that thing as well, because I feel like something like that can cause you a lot of stress. Yeah. So do you remember that DISC assessment we all did with Eric Thomas? Like that personality passport.
Yeah.
He calls it the flight assessment now.
Yeah.
I thought it was super useful and super powerful, and I actually read mine and yours quite often to make sure that my communication with you guys is on point, in terms of how you guys receive information and things like that. And also myself, like to better myself and to learn a bit more about my flaws and my strengths as well. So one of those things from the assessment was about the way I communicate can be perceived as very blunt to a lot of people that don't basically receive information like that. They don't appreciate being given direct information, basically. So you have to be considerate of others in that communication style. Anyway, there in that passport assessment, or the flight assessment, which is what you call now, there is a section of like your natural and your adaptive personality. So natural is like what you basically are like without just generally every day in stressful situations, when you're like when you have to really take action on something, that's your natural persona, and what you kind of naturally go to, almost like your flight or fight response. Then there is the one of the adaptive, and the adaptive is like when you're being watched. And what he says is like everyone's adaptive is slightly different, and obviously the questionnaire that they give you is what tells you what your adaptive personality is like. And mine is quite funny. So like I think it's a you have like a 4 sections, like a D, an I, an S, and forgot the last one.
C must be
disc. C.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, a C. And I think my D goes down, which is like your decisiveness. So like that kind of dominant character, or like that kind of leadership skills and things like that, all goes down. And my S, which is like I can't remember what it stands for, but it's more like you're social and you're a bit more like talkative in your relationships and things like that. So like when I'm around a lot of people when being watched, I often like very chatty, through
That's
the roof,
definitely
like
you.
energy is like really high, and like my decisiveness and all that goes away. And then when I'm like kind of doing things like in a stressful situation, I'm almost like a lot less.
The opposite.
And not complete, because my minds are equal. My D and my S was quite equal, so it's like there's a balance between it. So yeah. But what that kind of that alter ego kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're what the assessment was saying was that if you're in your adaptive personality too much, then you become very stressed. Like you don't feel good. You don't feel happy. And when I actually went through the coaching of it, the guy was saying to me like, "Oh, when you're like that, do you feel happy afterwards, or do you feel like a bit exhausted? And do you feel like?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I feel like very like kind of drained almost. Like, I don't like being around loads of other people because of that situation.
Yeah.
Like, because I get like that, and then I'm like, oh, like, why was I so over the top today? Like, why was I like this? And like, you do you get what I mean? Like, you almost like you feel like drained afterwards for not being your real self. And I think the alter ego thing that you're saying is great, because it's a good way to be, especially like when like when we're taking sessions, I'm like, you guys have to put on a show.
Yeah,
you have to
it's
see
true
it, like,
though.
you're the performer, you're the conductor, you're the guy on stage. Like, and I don't mean make it about yourself. I just mean you need to have energy to get other people to have energy in the session.
Yeah,
so switching it on in the right scenario then, and switching it on.
Yeah.
For
but what I was
things.
trying to say was that it would make I feel like that alter ego thing like would make you exhausted for a long time if you did it all the time.
Potentially.
Yeah. So that I guess that's what like people like Beyonce and that, like, you hear from them when they're on stage. You hear from them all the time, like when they're doing stuff like that, and then they're gone. Like they're not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't really follow her on social media, but is she active on social media and things like that?
I don't follow on social media.
Yeah. So like, you have to kind of like people's personalities, I guess, like they have to be true to themselves as well.
Yeah. And I guess you can't be like that, or you can't put that on all the time, can you?
Especially if it's not really you, is it?
No, exactly.
And I guess it's a good thing to actually bring up on an episode where we're talking about insecurities and things like that, and comparison and worries about what other people think of you, because you have to remember, like, not everyone is like this all the time. Like if you're following, let's say you're like, oh, Beyonce always looks great, or why is she so confident and I'm not? Why can't I be more like that? Like, you're like, you realize that she's not actually like that all the time either.
Yeah.
This
is the thing though, isn't it? Especially with social media, and a lot of the time people show you what they want you to see.
Yeah, what is it? People say it's like, not people, but it's a saying. It's like it's only the captions or the best bits, right, of people.
It's a highlight reel.
Yeah, the highlight. That's it. The highlight reel. Yeah.
One of our highest performing posts actually was one that I posted like maybe last month about. I think it was like, don't compare 100% of yourself to 5% of everybody else, because that's all they're showing you on
That's so true.
Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
You're comparing
Really true.
your whole self, like who you are as a person, to something you're seeing on the internet, which was barely scratches the surface of who that person is. Like, go on my Instagram feed and you see like lots of pictures of, like, on my personal one, of like me with my family and like my kids and all this stuff, and like, and it almost gives you a persona of like, I'm this big family man, and I like to be with my children and stuff, but like I work a lot. And like, this is like a really bad big kind of like a flaw, because like you don't find the management, like only
the
recently,
balance.
like I'm always really bad with working too much. So like, and often to the detriment of being present. That's why I've got like caps on my Instagram and things like that, like 15 minutes a day, because I struggle to turn off and actually be present with people and stuff like that. Like, so, like comparing yourself to other people is just the worst way to go to be happy.
I agree.
And like, what, like we've been saying about like overthinking and like being able to do something like this, like what made you actually be able to come on today if you were insecure about what you look like? and what, Nikhil, makes you stop overthinking for you two personally?
For me, your message kind of stuck out to me. There was a few things in there that you said about me being there, showing up for my team, which is you guys. Like, I have to, in a way, something like this stopping me from coming and doing the podcast is a very kind of small and not important thing compared to what we're doing. So that being there and showing up for the team, and also, like you said, being a role model for like my nieces and everyone else out there, I kind of thought, actually, them two things really stuck out to me. And I thought, actually, you've just got to do it. Like, don't worry about what other people think. It's a spot at the end of the day. Like, do you know what I mean? And it could be something else. It, like you said about posting a topless picture and stuff like that. If you're not comfortable with something, it's very hard taking that step. But then I think I just kind of had to tell myself and remind myself, actually, stop worrying about what everyone else is going to think. And to everyone else, it's not even a big deal. To me it is, but to everyone else it's a small kind of thing.
Yeah.
What about you, Nico? What makes you stop overthinking?
Just sort of sitting back, taking a back seat and realizing that even if I'm overthinking it, there's probably someone out there that is wanting to sort of, you know, receive my content or receive the advice that I'm giving them or something like that. Like, even if it's just one person, it's someone that I'm able to sort of help with it. So my overthinking could potentially stop someone from getting the right advice on something or taking action on something. So yeah, just basically thinking about the people that I could potentially help with it. Because before, on Instagram stories, I was so terrible at it. I'd hate speaking on the camera. I'd look at the sort of story and stuff like that and delete it and get rid of it and want it to be perfect. But now it's just like, just speak and just get it out there sort of thing. Just don't overthink it. Someone out there or someone's going to want to be listening. So yeah.
It's actually really, it's a very smart thing to say from both of you guys in terms of like how you can force yourself to take action, because you're thinking about your purpose and your why. Do you get what I mean? Like, you've both gone back to something that motivates you personally to help you overcome something. This is like a whole different podcast episode, and we'll probably have to come back to this on the next one. But like, having a strong purpose for why you're doing something can make you take action. So think about why you actually want to do something. And, you know, we always talk about with our social media, like, to force us to post stuff and to help people is to try and help one person. And any piece of content that we post can help one person. And then it helps you stop thinking about all the other hundreds of people that you may be like, oh, what do they think about this? Or is there a spelling error in this? Or whatever. Like, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
100%.
And then having a clear why and a clear, like, kind of purpose in life almost makes you overcome difficulties and also drives you and motivates you to keep going and to do things. So I always recommend to people, like, there's a book actually called Start With Why, and I read it, I think it was a year ago or something, by Simon Sinek. I think that's how you say his name. But it's about leadership and like stuff like that. And it's saying start with why. Like, what is the purpose of your mission? Like, when you're starting a business. But you could use it as life advice. Like, what is your purpose? And it can easily help you overcome something like, you know, like an insecurity, like a spot. Or even something far worse, like worse is the wrong word to use, but something like that might be larger for most people to overcome, like, I don't know, like a loss of a limb, a disability, a lisp, a mental health illness, like talking about it, worrying about like what other people think of you. And they're things that like people often do judge you on, that do hold you back from all opportunities that are offered to other people who don't have these struggles and stuff. But when you think about your purpose and your passion, why, we can come to like how you can create that another time, because it will be a very, very long podcast. But if you think about those things, then it really helps you like kind of not worry about other people, stops you from overcomplicating things, because it gives you real clarity on what you're trying to do. And it gives you that and kind take of action, isn't it? Yeah, it really helps you take action. I think that's why that book says start with why, because if you don't know why you're doing something, it's very difficult to actually do something, isn't it? Like to take action. And that's why even with a health and fitness journey, we get people to talk about why they're doing something, not just what they want to achieve.
Yeah. And a lot of the time when, even with our members, when they're struggling and, you know, sometimes you hit a wall and you need that motivation because you start, that kind of starts to slip down. Always referring back to those whys, I always get our members to do, because it really helps drive that motivation back up.
Yeah. And I think to find your why, like maybe we can discuss this on the next podcast episode, because it's just like opening a whole can of worms of where we could go. And I'm conscious of time, Sadie has to go. But just briefly, like, how do you guys feel like you could find a why? Like, a life why is a bit difficult of a question to ask yourself, isn't it? Like, do you have any tips quickly? But we can come back to it on another episode.
How to find it out?
Yeah, just not how to find it out, but just like generally, like kind of find a bit more clarity around what your goal is, like of.
It's dig deep, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why? So I guess on the surface, if you were to ask me, why are you doing what you're doing, and I'm just like, oh, to help people. But then, yeah, you're gonna dig deeper and ask me, yeah, okay, I get you want to help people and stuff like that, but yeah, why do you want to help people? What does that sort of do for you? And just like really digging deep into it. I guess the best way to do it is potentially just writing it all down, like old school style, pen and paper, and just writing it all down, like why you want to do what you want to do.
I guess it's a good place to start, actually. Like, everyone has a something they're trying to take action on.
Yeah. And
then you just have to ask yourself, like, why do you want to take action on that? What is it that's going to give to you? What's going to fulfill? Or even if it's not why, like, you could ask yourself about, like, if you're conscious about something, like, oh, you don't like posting, but you really want to post on social media to do something. Like, well, why do you want to post, and why are you not posting? And then unpack those questions. Like, I guess the best way to start finding a why is to ask yourself why. Yeah. We'll come back to this episode definitely, because I think in Simon Sinek's book it goes on to values and Jay Shetty's a really good person that has got like a few things on this. Is about like passion, purpose, and all these different questions that like this kind of topic unpacks. But yeah, for now, I think we should leave it there. Hopefully you found some use in that kind of random podcast today. But I hope you found some use in it. And if you did, please let us know how you found it, what you thought. Leave us a review. It really helps us out massively. Any parting wisdom you guys want to leave for the podcast today?
Just stop overthinking.
That's a
basically.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Goodbye.
Take care. We're over and out. We'll catch you on next week's episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.